Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Um, Hopefully you all can hear me well. Let me know in the chat if you have any issues picking me up. Yeah, I think we're good. So, happy Sunday. It is JSU live time. The time now is 8:13. And as promised, I decided to just show up. We did not have a JSU live last week as planned, because I had a couple things to come up over the past week that needed my attention. And so the assignment, the instructions were to go back and check, go back and rewatch or watch for the first time a live or some of the lives from the start week that we had here on the YouTube channel. So happy Sunday again. Glad to be back this week. If you are new here, I'm Danetta. This is the A Dose of Danetta channel. And I figured this would be a good week to kind of reintroduce myself a little bit, just for a quick hot second. And then I have a little bit of an encouraging message for you all to help bring you on into a new week. So let's start there. Little bit of a reintroduction. I was thinking today about how here in 2024, my YouTube channel in existence, I think, has been almost 10 years. I think this channel has been up for almost 10 years. It actually started as a channel that I was using just to upload my music. So 2012 was the last time I had a release that I put out to distribute through iTunes and all of the digital things by that point. And so I was using my YouTube channel to share music things. And then eventually over the next 2 years from there, I started to release other content on YouTube that was really very much natural hair related, as I don't know, I would venture to say probably 75% of Black women YouTubers that are in the lifestyle space now that have been on the channel for or been on YouTube for a while, all of us was doing natural hair. A lot of people were doing makeup, and some people were doing other popular things like family vlogs and that kind of thing, all genres that have completely exploded to this day. But I believe that over the time, my channel has been very much, how can I say, me. It's been very much a dose of Danetta. Not necessarily just natural hair, not necessarily just like get ready with me, then vlogs and things like that. My channel has just been a little bit of everything. And so that's why I thought it was an appropriate name, A Dose of Danetta. You get a little dose of lifestyle from me. You get a little dose of all of the things that are literally my life. I do not have to contrive to get on YouTube because I'm sharing really what is happening in my life. And then at this juncture, I'm sharing things that I'm learning, things that I may share on a professional basis with clients, and then just your girl talk conversations, your what's happening in the world conversations. But more and more, my channel is becoming a space where I share about things that are going to uplift, encourage, exhort, admonish, inform, educate. yeah. And so I still think it's appropriate to just share other things that I want to share on my channel, even via the community page. A lot of times on my community page, I will share other interesting things that I have discovered or things that I have watched on YouTube that I think people might enjoy or be encouraged by, depending on, what you come to YouTube for. But more and more, my channel is becoming a space where I'm going to share encouragement from the Bible, or where I'm going to share things that have been ministered to my heart that I can minister to you, or even things that I have found, discovered, been exposed um, to help clients. So a little bit of everything if you're a first timer, but these JSU lives are a space for me to show up every week to connect with my audience. And so um, this week's message or encouragement is simply get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Last week on the channel, we had Start Week, where we began to examine things that we needed to start, things we needed to pick back up, things we needed to add a more consistent routine to and take seriously. Everything from family life to health and wellness to business, ministry, therapy, you name it. Start Week was for each individual, including myself, to examine things that we needed to get on it with, things that we needed to go ahead and pick back up and go for the gusto, or even again just be more consistent with. And so I would love to know in the comments whether you are on with me live now or whether you are catching this through the replay. I'd love to know some stuff that you all focused on last week, and maybe some progress that you saw this week with your start. The thing that I shared with the community was that I wanted to begin posting again on my coaching and counseling business page, because I hadn't in quite some time. And I had shared with you all last week that one of the reasons was because I had taken on more business via my business. And so it was more of working in my business more and not working on my business as much. There was a time where I was spending more time working on my business, like, getting my infrastructure together, paperwork things, getting things in order so that I could share the business more via online, or even for referrals. A lot of times I would get referrals, or people would say, I mentioned you to so-and-so. I recommended you, but I wanted to make sure it's okay. I want them to call you or email you. So I was getting my things in order so that it was a lot easier for me in real life to capture referrals. And so there was a time where I was more focused on uh, posting encouraging things and links and stuff that would connect people back to my coaching and counseling business on my Instagram page. But then there came a time where I had captured a particular number of people, and I was working in my business. And while working in my business, some of the more public or front facing things of my business I stopped working on, i.e., I stopped posting online really about my business, other than I have the Psychology Today page. And what I was doing was just sharing that link. So when someone would say, "Oh, I want to tell so and so about you," instead of them, wondering like, "Oh, how did I get in touch?" I simply could text them the link to my Psychology Today page. All my information is there. They're able to share it with their person, whoever they were trying to refer to me, and that person could connect with me directly right away, either via email or via phone. So I got to work a lot more busily behind the scenes, and I stopped sharing some of the things that I had to share with my community on Instagram. I kind of just dropped the ball, left my Instagram community hanging, basically, which is like, bim, here go the Psychology Today link in the bio. Y'all know where to find me. But unacceptable. Unacceptable at this space because I have the capacity. I have the space in my heart, mind, and in my life via adjustments in my schedule to reconnect with my audience on Instagram. And so last week for Start Week, that was the thing that I said I was going to stop planning and procrastinating on and do. And I have already begun to see some progress with making that step and getting back out there with that. So I'd love to know if you were with me last week for Start Week. What are some things, or what is a thing that you made some progress with from last week that you said, you know what, I need to jump back on that. I need to get in there, or I need to stop putting it off and go forward with it. I'd love to know in the comments below what one of those things, or however many you'd like to share, what those things were for you. And so, in connection with that, this week, the message is simply get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Um, get uncomfortable. And this message is inspired by something that happens in life for all of us, something that is just a part of the growth and expansion process. And that is that oftentimes we pray for things, we imagine things, we envision things, we are inspired towards certain things. And so our step is to prepare ourselves. So, for example, a person may, and I think I've probably for whatever reason, the house example, it just sticks out to me a lot. But a person may be living in a small space, and they may really enjoy the space that they're in, but they have a vision. They have something in their mind. It may be something stirring in their heart where they want a larger space. Well, oftentimes, the first thing we do, especially if we are people of faith, when we imagine or envision something more than what we are currently experiencing, we pray. Sometimes our first prayer is just to ask God for a thing. We don't have a complete understanding of what it would take to have that thing or to bring that situation into our real world. We don't always know what that's going to look like, but we just know that there's a desire there. There is some vision there for something. And so our first thing is to pray, and ask God, like, Lord, will you bless me with thus and such, right? And so for the person with a small space, let's say their prayer is they want another space. They want a larger house. Many of you have already gone through this. Some of you are currently walking through this right now. You're in one space. You may completely love this space and you're thankful for it, but you have a vision for. There's something in your heart that is pushing you towards asking for and pursuing that particular thing. Well, it's one thing when you're praying about the new house and saying, Lord, bless me with a new house. We need more space. And then there's another thing when you start making steps towards that house, as our example. And so sometimes steps towards that new house is you are contacting a realtor. You are riding around your city, looking through different neighborhoods where you see there may be vacancies in homes. Or if you're preparing yourself to move to a new state or a new city, you're online. You're having conversations with people online that live in these different places. You are calling your friends that live in these different places. You may even be making a trip to these different states or different cities that you're interested in living in. So that's one thing. It's one thing to just think it in your mind, have it in your heart, pray for it. But then there's a whole nother thing where you are starting to ask questions. When you're asking questions and you're looking around, well, that's not that uncomfortable because you're still in your space. Nothing is at stake yet. No money is up. Your reputation is not up. your safety and your time is really not being impacted by your your inquiry about this new space that you want to live in. But then your realtor calls. You've connected with the realtor, and your realtor calls and says, "Hey, I have I have a few homes I want you to look at." Um, and you start talking with your realtor about the prices, what you want to spend on this new house. And your realtor says, I have some options. Well, a whole nother step is you're actually going to visit homes that could be yours. You're going to visit homes that are currently up for sale. You're going to visit new construction sites, and you're looking around at these options. Well, there's some excitement there for that, but it might be slightly uncomfortable just trying to wrap your mind around the fact that, like, okay, maybe I'm really gonna do this. But you're not uncomfortable per se just yet. You're just enjoying looking. But you might kind of have that little nervous feeling in the pit of your stomach. Your heart might be palpitating a little bit because you're walking in a space and saying to yourself, like, this space could actually be mine one day. Like, this could be my space. That's one thing. Well, then you find that not only is the space available, not only did you pre-qualify for what you would need to get this space, um, well, let's say this pre-qualification, and then you actually qualify for a home loan, and the seller is accepting your offer for this loan. Well, now things are about to get a little bit uncomfortable. Well, it was already uncomfortable when you had to put your information out there so that you could qualify for this new home. You find out that you qualify, your offer is accepted, and there comes a time where you're going to have to sit to the table and you're going to have to do some paperwork. Contracts are being put out there and all of the things. It's starting to get a little bit more uncomfortable because you once you sign your name on the dotted line, even though there may be more layers and more things of more times of making agreements, you something's at stake now, so it gets a little bit more uncomfortable. And then when you go forward, everything is signed. um you've already made your arrangements to leave where you are, and you're getting ready to move in, even when all of the things have been done that to make it official. You don't get to enjoy yet. Your vision is coming to pass. It's coming to life, but you still don't really get the 100% enjoy yet. Some things you get to enjoy, but there's still some elements of the process that are uncomfortable. You have to make all of these arrangements at a time where you normally don't have to make all of these arrangements. You have to pack up the home that you are in. You have to sell things. You have to purge and maybe get rid of things that you want to hold on to, but you truly do not have the space for yet. Um, if you live with people, you have to start making arrangements with those people. If they're not people who, like, let's say if you have roommates, or you have boarders, or you have people that are living in your spaces, you got to do some uncomfortable things, because unless you live alone, the decisions that you are making with this home are going to affect the people around you. So there's a little bit of angst that can come with that, because not only are you uprooting and you having to change and move things around, the people around you are impacted as well. Well, you get through all of the uncomfortable things. You have sold your place that you were in, or your lease is up. Everything's done. You've closed, or maybe you waited for a while to close. You closed. You finally have the keys to your new home. Well, when you get to your new home, you have to wait for things still. So even though the vision months prior, or for some of you weeks prior, sometimes this stuff happens, as many of you know, the Lord makes a way and these things happen very quickly. But even when it happens very quickly and you don't have to wait, you still have to get uncomfortable. You still have to shake up your routine and do something different in order to get to that goal of that vision that you had that started in your mind as just an idea. So you're in your new home and you still have to wait for things. Now, sometimes it works out where you're able to make those arrangements to have your cable and your Wi-Fi and all of that stuff connected before. But how many people know sometimes it doesn't even work out like that? Sometimes you have to be in your new spot for a couple of days with no Wi-Fi. Usually they can you can make it happen where your electricity and your water and all of those things are running before you can move in. So you have your basics, you have your electricity, and you have your water. Well, all your stuff is in boxes. Some of it is in storage, and you got to go purge your storage and go through the storage. Like there's so many uncomfortable things that we just half the time wish we didn't have to do, but we know we have to do it and we're willing to do it because we want to get to the goal. So, just in the example of moving into a new home because you need the space or because you desire the space, it started with a desire, it started with a thought, it started with a prayer. And you didn't necessarily know how quickly God was going to answer the prayer, but He answered it. You wanted a new space, you're moving into a new space. This is our example. Everywhere along the lines, there was a place where something that had been in a particular position, held a particular spot in that home for however long, had to be moved. Even if it is something that you're taking with you into the new space, it had to be moved from the position that it was in. I wanted all of us to think tonight about our own lives, even if it goes back to things that were on your agenda or on your list for start week. Everything that you are praying for, all of the things that you are believing God to open a door for in your life are going to require you to get uncomfortable, are going to require you to do things maybe a little bit different than how they have been done for you before, even down to healing and wellness. Everything we desire requires for us to make some changes. If it is something good, it's going to require for us to make changes that are not always easy to make. Everything. And we know this, and we usually kind of gear up and we're prepared for some of the practical things like moving into a new home. But there are other elements of our character that have to be examined, or that God will begin to prune us and correct us and help us to be better in preparation for the things that we have prayed for. So my encouragement tonight for all of us, with regard to the things that we are praying for or the things that we have prayed for, have been praying for in the past, or maybe things that we are beginning to see God bring us answers and open doors, to just prepare to be uncomfortable. Not that it won't be enjoyable, not that it will not be what you thought it would be, everything you thought it would be and more, but just knowing that sometimes stepping out of the comfort zone, you know, is simply doing something different than the way we've done it all along. Not necessarily anything bad or even physically or emotionally painful, but just sometimes we can find comfort in things that are painful just because that's the way we have done it. We have done things for so long. Back to the health and the wellness example, we can know that certain foods are really not good. We can know that certain foods cause irritation or cause inflammation in the body, but because we've eaten those foods for so long, it's more comfortable to just acquiesce to this is what I've always done, even though I know that it is of detriment to my health. So getting uncomfortable is making those better decisions. All right. Even in relationships, we can pray and ask God to bless us with relationships, whether it is marriage, whether it is improving your marriage, if you're someone who's already married, whether it is children, whether it is business partnerships, whether it is, an increase in membership at your church or, a job opportunity. All relationships are required in all of those. As God begins to open doors and things expand, He shows us our character. More even the place where you feel like, oh, I'm pretty good there. You will get a cue. You will get a reminder like, I need to submit that. That's something that I gotta work on. And if you're not having those moments, I question that. It would be, I am more, well, let me not say it like that. Let's just say it like this. When God is opening doors and expanding you, He's also literally expanding you, expanding your character so that your character can be at the level of the thing that you have prayed for. Um, Even down to finances. When it comes to the practical examples, like, the house, like the car, like the new warehouse or the new business, whatever it is that where stewardship of money is relevant. Some of the habits that you had in your old house may not match your new house. You're moving into a better space. You're moving into a bigger space. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable not to be able to spend frivolously, or I won't even say not to be able to spend frivolously. It might be a little bit uncomfortable to change habits of spending frivolously, because sometimes it's not a thing of not being able to. You probably could do it and get away with it, but is that the best use of your time and your money? Is it the best use of the resources to reach the goals that you have long term? So all the way from budgeting to health habits to stewarding relationships, new relationships, old, well, I don't want to say old, enduring, mature relationships, there is still that space of things being uncomfortable. Not because they're bad or wrong, but because we have to adjust. Just like with our physical life, sometimes trying to find a comfortable position to sleep in. You could be so tired, but you just can't quite get right. And when you finally get right, you sleep well and wake up refreshed. But those times when we just fall asleep in those weird, crazy positions and then wake up with aches, we needed to adjust. Sometimes the discomfort is just an indication that an adjustment is needed. And when it comes to getting uncomfortable, I think it's really important to consider that oftentimes the adjustments that need to be made, especially the ones that we are aware of, are in us. If every uncomfortable situation you are ever in is because someone else needs to change or someone else needs to adjust, definitely some things to look at. Oftentimes, it is within where the adjustment is made. Sometimes the adjustment or the changing position might mean that you have to move from where you are. Might mean that you might need to find healthier friendships or healthier relationships. But sometimes it is that, no, I actually need to, there's something in me that has to shift. Sometimes the shift is in what you expect from some people. There are some people that you might feel like, well, if they just change, things will be better. If they just shift, then everything will be better. But the thing with that is, that means that you are relegating your ability to get in a stable situation to what someone else does. And we have no control over what other people do. But it's definitely a red flag for you, for yourself, for all of us, for ourselves, when there is never a time when the adjustments or the need to shift is within. If it is always without, definitely some things to look at. But my admonishment today for all of us is to prepare to get uncomfortable in the best way possible. Um, Prepare for more. Prepare to be encouraged. Prepare for opportunities and doors to open. But at the same time, already have a mindset. Have a ready mind. If I'm not mistaken, it would have been Joyce Meyer that I first heard use that term to describe what I'm talking about. Have a ready mind. All right. A ready mind means that I know that this new space that I'm moving into, or these new doors that God is opening, these prayers that He's answering, are going to require more of me than this current situation has required. But I'm praying for it. I believe that God is going to open the door. And so I'm preparing for it. And in preparing for it, that means sometimes I have to get uncomfortable. All right. In preparing for it, the things that you have prayed for, that means that sometimes you have to get uncomfortable. All right. Think of what are some ways that have maybe held you back or delayed you because you don't want to be uncomfortable, because you don't want to deal with uncomfortable things, because you don't want to have difficult or uncomfortable conversations, because you don't want to change, because you are limiting yourself to the box of who you have been and what you have done. Are there places in your life where you can say that that is true? Because if so, my encouragement for you today is to get uncomfortable. Be willing to change. Be willing to adjust. Be willing to humble yourself before the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due season. Be willing to use the gifts and the skills that God has given you, but at the same time, understand that your gifts and your skills and your intellect will never supersede that of the living God. And so He may instruct you to do something a little different that might make you uncomfortable, all on the way to answering the prayers that you have prayed. Because some of the things that we pray for, some of the things that we desire, are literally seeds that God planted in our hearts. Everything you desire is not bad. Everything that it seems like it would be difficult for you to achieve, or difficult for you to walk into or receive from God, it's not all bad and made up. That's one of the things that we have to look at, because sometimes we get a little out of balance. It's kind of like it can be one extreme or the other. Sometimes we get to a place where if it's something good that is in our hearts, and maybe the people around us don't see it, or maybe we've never seen anyone close to us experience or achieve certain things, we think like, oh no, that's just vain imaginations. But no, sometimes the things that you perceive, things that you are motivated towards or inspired to reach for, or you have a vision for, are literally things that God gave you, seeds that God planted in your heart. Some of us can maybe remember places, maybe some of us can remember where we were or how old we were when certain desires or certain visions for our future lives began to I guess we started to see pictures and have an imagination of those things. Some of us can remember those things as children, but some people don't really even remember where the seed was planted or where the idea came from, but it's just something that they are inspired towards, that they have a vision for. It's not always wrong. Sometimes in our own fear, doubt, and unbelief, we can discourage other people for reaching towards things that maybe you wouldn't have reached towards, or certain things that maybe are not that important to you. Um, Maybe there are people that are maybe under us in age, like younger than each person. We're all different ages. So, for some people that could be, your children, your grandchildren. For some of us, that could be students or mentees. We have to be mindful not to discourage those who look to us or look up to us because we have gone a particular way before. We have to be mindful not to discourage people from things that God has placed in their hearts just because we didn't have those thoughts when we were their age or in their position, or just because we don't know a way forward for people with some of the things that God has placed in their hearts. We have to be mindful not to do that. Another thing that I think is very important, especially in a social media era, where things can very, very easily be given a particular look that doesn't actually match the reality of what it is. We have to be careful not to relegate certain types of possibilities to an elite group of people. To me, I call it elitism, where it's only these certain people could possibly have a call on their life in a particular way, or only these certain people could possibly achieve this or that or the third. Only these certain people could possibly be healed and set free and delivered from all kinds of addictions and all kinds of demons. Only these certain people. We have to be careful not to find ourselves using our own human understanding to be elite and to decide that only certain people, not me and my folk where I grew up, we could never do that. We have to be careful not to do that. But we also have to be careful not to be people who think, well, only me and my five friends can accomplish this because we're the elite people. We have to be careful not to do that because I think that we should be able to see from history that the Bible is very, very accurate in predicting that God will take the foolish things to confound the wise. So we have to be careful with thinking that only some people can overcome their current circumstances. So whether we are the people who are thinking that, well, only us, or whether we are the people thinking, oh no, it could never be me. Neither of those is a good end of the spectrum to fall on. We have to be people who know that possibility is not up to us, especially when it comes to other people. Now there are some possibilities that are up to us by in the way that God is willing and able to help us, but we have to start and we have to take those steps, and we have to be willing to put our hand to the plow. But we have to remember that when it comes to possibility, when it comes to ability, when it comes to certain doors being open that no man can shut, or certain doors being closed that no man can close, that we don't get to decide. Now, may we be people who will encourage people to seek God and not to make an idol out of any aspiration. May we all be people who will do that. But at the same time, may we be also people of faith who know that with God, all things are possible, and that His thoughts and his ways are way higher than ours. And so with that, we have to find our faith and our hope and our confidence in Christ, knowing that if he called us to something, no matter how big or small, how practical, how spiritual, how mystical, how everyday it is, if he calls us to it, then he is more than able to foot the bill. As the saying goes, his will, his bill. He's more than able to give us what, or help to draw out what he's already placed within us, so that we can walk in the way that he has called us in. We have to be careful. We have to be careful that our comfort does not become a cage. So I say that to you, and I say that to myself as I see myself in my reflection in this camera. Don't let your comfort become your cage. Don't let your comfort become your cage. Whatever it is that you are asking God to do in your life, whatever you've been praying for, whatever doors you see God opening, don't run from the discomfort. The discomfort doesn't have to be, I'm not speaking or predicting anything crazy, anything outlandish. I'm simply speaking of being willing to step outside of our everyday norm in order to expand, so that we make room in our hearts for what God's will is, for the things that he does have for us. When I speak of discomfort, I mean being willing to try something new and commit to doing something different and doing whatever it takes to walk that commitment out. If that means joining some kind of a community or getting some kind of accountability, do it. No one is above needing support or help. God did not make us to be alone. Um, he made us social, communal beings. So that may look different from different people. A more extroverted person, you are going to literally draw your strength and your fuel in some ways from the conversation of it all, from the camaraderie of it all, from being around more people. A more introverted type needs time away or alone in order to refuel, in order to be effective in group settings. But there are so many options in today's time when it comes to connecting with folk that will help us along the way. But maybe you are in a season of isolation. Maybe you are in a season of solitude, is what I would prefer to say. Maybe you're in a season of solitude where you really can't tolerate but so much of other people's conversation and other people's opinions and all of the things. That's okay too. Be strategic. Be strategic about finding whatever resource you need. If you just need the one person, that's fine. If you just need I keep doing that. If you just need the one person, completely fine. If you just need a small group of people, that's good too. If you thrive and you need a large group of folk, find that. There is support out there for each of us when it comes to getting uncomfortable. But maybe you're the person who you always move for the tribe. You always consider the entire tribe. And maybe getting uncomfortable for you is understanding that you're in a space where you're going to have to make decisions for you that the tribe might not understand or like. That might be getting uncomfortable for you. And I do not discard, discount, or minimize how detrimental it can be for someone who is used to moving so that the tribe is pleased, or so that the tribe can understand and everyone can keep up. You might be the pack leader, and you might have to make a decision to do something different than what you've always done. But if it is what needs to happen in order for you to move the needle, in order for you to move the tribe along, then you're gonna have to get uncomfortable. You're gonna have to do what you have to do. Get uncomfortable. Don't let your comfort be your cage. Get uncomfortable. That is the message for the evening. I believe I'm going to end it there. Not a whole lot tonight, just uh, um, being adamant about the fact that sometimes getting those prayers answered, most times getting those prayers answered means that some kind of expansion is taking place and some things have to change. And simply changing a routine can be a little uncomfortable at first. But whatever that thing is for you, I want you to make that commitment that you're going to have a ready mind and you're going to be prepared to persevere and push through whatever those things are that require you to get uncomfortable. It won't be uncomfortable forever. It usually doesn't take long for us to adapt and adjust. It's just a matter of commitment and being able to push past the angst, being able to push past the anxiety, being able to push past all of the excuses, being able to push past the past, and know that you are capable of expanding. You are capable of becoming. You are capable of adjusting. You are capable of adapting. And although it is not comfortable all of the time, the discomfort is worth where you're going. The discomfort is worth being able to be established in that thing or in that place or in that space. So just like with the example that we spoke of at the very beginning, moving into that new house, you push past all of the things, all to accomplish or to achieve or to receive that thing that started here and here. An idea, a desire, a vision, that in a lot of cases, it's absolutely a seed, excuse me, that God planted in your heart. Even if it was just by way of simply, He made you a human being in this space and time in history. So, whatever it is, if you pray for it and God is opening that door for you, push past whatever the discomfort is. Don't retreat. And I think it's so important, especially for things that we have prayed for a long time. Like sometimes there are times where maybe you've had a desire, but you didn't even pray for it for 20. You didn't even ask God for it for 20 years because you just couldn't see it. You thought it wasn't for you, so you didn't even ask for it. It was just a really silly little fantasy to you. But now you realize, no, that's actually a seed that God planted in my heart. And here I am thinking of stepping out. Here I am actually praying for God to open that door, praying for Him to move. You've made it thus far. And you can get to a place where that thing that once started as an idea in your mind and a seed of hope planted in your heart, it can spring up and actually exist in your life. Do what needs to be done to get uncomfortable. As God is pruning, as He is molding and He is shaping you in character, as He is allowing you an opportunity to begin again in some situations, or giving you the courage to even start. Push through the discomfort, make the commitment, get the support that you need. Get uncomfortable. Don't let your comfort be a cage. Allow yourself to expand so that you have the capacity to not only receive all that God has for you in this life, because guess what? It actually matters. It actually does matter to God. I know that ultimately, we as believers, people who are believers in Christ, ultimately, our goal is to live so that we live again. Um, but I think what it is important for us to remember, or I will say this, maybe this, I believe this is one of my areas of encouragement for people. And this might not be everybody's forte, is that if the only thing that mattered to God was that we were saved and that we had salvation, that is the ultimate most important thing. That is the ultimate. But if it didn't matter to God how we live here on earth, the moment of salvation, we wouldn't exist in the earth realm anymore, anyone. But we are here, and we're not here to be, um, as the people who say that the one that we serve is the God of our creation, to be faithless and to be spineless people who run from any discomfort or any challenge when we say we believe that God put things in our hearts, that God gave us certain visions or certain things to aspire towards. I don't, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate at all. We are supposed to be believers. Those of us who are believers, we believe. And if we believe that God is who he says he is, then all of the Gospels were written to teach us how to live in a way that glorifies God. And part of that way of glorifying God is having faith. Part of that way is um, following the examples of those that came before us when it came to having faith. All of our earthly examples that we read about in the Bible trusted God for natural things in the natural world. And God moved. And in a lot of spaces where God moved and it was miraculous, it wasn't necessarily in the way or the scenario that those people would have asked for in that day and time. So in today's day and time, you might not be Peter. You might not be fishing all night trying to catch enough fish to pay off your debt and take care of your family. Although you might be a fisherman watching this. Shout out to all the fishermen. Because a lot of us who are on that wellness journey, we thank you. Because we eat a lot of fish or we eat a lot of seafood. As opposed to meat, some of us. But we might not be Peter out on a boat pulling in a whole bunch of fish. But we are here trying to do different things so that we can provide for our families, so that we can do what we are shown in Proverbs and in Ecclesiastes and some of the wisdom books when it talks about leaving a legacy for those who will come behind us. A lot of us are out here, concerned with that. No, that shouldn't be our God or our idol. But since we out here and the Lord was the one who orchestrated that in this time in history, we would be walking the face of this earth. We would have the gifts and the talents that we have. We would have we would be from the families that we're from, in the places that we're in. God did all of that. So if he gave us these things, surely he will lead us and guide us in how we're supposed to go and how we're supposed to move and how we're supposed to use the gifts that he gave us. And so in that, as I wrap this up for the evening, as God continues to expand us and prepare us, let us not run from the small discomforts that we may experience on that journey to change. Let us lean in to the discomfort by way of trusting in God, by way of um, spending more of our energy trying to learn what does God think and say about something to inform the decisions that we make, as opposed to what is the latest trend, what are people gonna think, what they doing online, what we gonna do for the gram, what if they ban TikTok? Which, by the way, I I believe y'all gonna be all right. And I say y'all because I'm on TikTok, but I have not yet capitalized on TikTok's capacity. So TikTok going down, it's not gonna bother me too much, except for that I know that it's going to affect some of you. So yeah, but anyway, let me not go off on that trail. God has given us these different tools to use, whether we are talking about technology or not. He's given us different tools to use. He's opening different doors in our lives for different reasons, all for his glory. So may we trust in the Lord with all of our hearts and lean not into our own understanding. In all our ways, let us acknowledge him, and he will direct our path. Because I think more than anything else, one of the main discomforts that most of us face is trusting God above our own ability to see what he's doing. That's one of the main discomforts. Following God is a faith walk, it's a faith journey. It's not always comfortable, but we're not going to let our comfort be our cage. If anything, we're going to prepare ourselves in a place of prayer. We're going to prepare ourselves in a place of being diligent to acknowledge God and to seek him and trust that he's going to bring us out in whatever way that means, in whatever layer of your life that refers to. Trust that he will bring us out into a wide open space, that he won't fail, that he won't fail us. And so we can trust him. Yeah, we can trust him. And so in trusting him, let us lean on him in those places where things get a little uncomfortable as things are shifting and shaking, and know that all will be well. Everything's going to come together. Everything is going to work out. Don't run from the discomfort. Get uncomfortable. It won't last long. And you'll be standing in a place where you will be able to say, this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. You know, that space where you're like, oh my God. Only God did this, because it just ain't no way. It ain't no way I never would have put that together like that. That's what pushing past discomfort will get you. Something that you knew, or something that you know that only God can do. All right, I hope you all have enjoyed this JSU Live. I did not intend to do an hour tonight, but here we are at 59 minutes and 5 seconds. I hope you've enjoyed this. Drop down in the comments and let me know that you were here. Let me know that you making a commitment to get uncomfortable. Don't let your comfort be your cage. God got you. You stick with him, you're going to get to where you're trying to go. You're going to get to where he wants you to go. And if you stick with him, where you're trying to go is going to be where he wants you to go, because he's going to lead you and guide you. He will lead your heart and direct your path. All right. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I usually forget to say that, but I'm going to remember now, because the more you guys give it a thumbs up, the more people will see it on the algorithm. Hit share. Share it on your timeline. yeah, if you're not subscribed yet to the channel, hit the subscribe button, tap the notifications bell so that you will receive notifications every time I release a new video. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing week. I am praying for every viewer, every person that will watch this with any numbers that pop up. I'll be praying for you throughout this week, that God will bless you and keep you, and that God will draw you to himself, and that you will push past the discomfort, cast your cares on him because he cares for you, and that you'll be able to walk in that thing that God placed in your heart and in your mind. That is my prayer for you this week. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.